What's up, Libra? So we got first the card description that was pulled from the Herbal Astrology Oracle deck, and then we go into our reading. And this particular deck is by Adriana Yales. Okay, and the card here is cannabis, with the subtext of detachment. Detachment, deep contemplation, freedom from pain, body, inner calm, and immunity. Cannabis is one of the oldest known psychotropic herbs. The first recorded use of cannabis is from 8000 BC in an ancient village in Taiwan where indigenous groups used hemp fibers in their fabrics, pottery, rope, and even in their shoes, not relying on animal skins or even silk for clothing. In 4000 BC, in the Chinese village of Panpo, hope I'm saying that right, hemp was considered to be one of the 5 grains of China, thus a major food crop in the Chinese materia medica from 2737 BC. Okay, so let me read that one more time. In the Chinese Materia Medica from 2737 BC, hemp was recognized for its ability to treat over 100 medical issues, including gout, malaria, rheumatism, and the medicinal use of marijuana features heavily in Hindu religious texts. In the Vedas, for example, written between 2000 BC and 1400 BC, cannabis was considered a sacrament of Shiva, described as a source of happiness and a joy giver, and a bringer of freedom. That was compassionately given to humans by the gods to relieve them of anxiety and help them achieve delight as well as fearlessness. Cannabis's many uses fall mostly under Saturn and Neptune's rulership, with a strong Piscean undertone. Since it is a musculoskeletal relaxant, anti-inflammatory, and pain reliever, it is a great ally for those seeking to soften the rough edges of Saturn's impact. Its mood-enhancing, anti-anxiety, anti-inflammatory, and psychotropic properties belong to the realms of Neptune, and therefore Pisces. This is the guidance portion. Saturn is said to be the lord of time and space, the lord of karma. Although often called the Great Malefic, Saturn is much more than what we experience in third-dimensional reality. The space-time continuum is a system that encompasses third-dimensional reality as we know it. Said to be ruled by Saturn, yet the transcendence of this reality is freedom from Saturn. Depicted by its polarity, Neptune, when angels of time and space are rejected, they bless us with freedom and the ability to transcend Neptune. The cycles of the pain body. Okay, let me read that one more time. When the angels of time and space are respected, Saturn, they bless us with the freedom and ability to transcend Neptune, the cycles of the pain body. If you feel restless, anxious, trapped in your own body, or have trouble sleeping, cannabis is here to remind you to cultivate your inner calm. Breathe deeply, go for a walk in nature, immerse yourself in meditation, take naps. Creatively cultivate practices that soften the unsettled aspects of your being. Don't succumb to quick fix solutions when it comes to decompression, as it often leads to self-neglect and dissociation. Tune deeply into the energetics of this ancient ally and learn to transcend the cycles of self-induced pain. Okay. A few things. I think number one, when it comes down to relief and relieving oneself from anxiety or being riddled with anxiety, we should most certainly take that seriously. We shouldn't take that as something that is that can be passed down the road. And this idea of this idea of anxiety and what it could do for a person, even a person who is more goal driven in nature, is something that I think is very much misunderstood or misrepresented in a lot of different ways. Our ability to really take care of ourselves, our ability to kind of really undo this sense of anxiety and maybe being played with anxiety. We should most certainly understand this in the respect of what we are able to accomplish in terms of how we're maybe it can most certainly be linked to the idea of, or give us an analogy to give us an accurate representation, would more likely be the idea of, for instance, sleep. There was a reading on Valerian, I think it's called Breaking Hexes. It's literally Virgo, so Virgo breaking hexes. This idea of sleep, or Valerian, it is known to be a particular herb that induces sleep in a lot of cases, but actually understanding the herb itself, I found out that, and through this particular deck, that this was a spell, or this was not a spell, this was an actual herb used to break hexes. And I think a lot of us need to understand that vitality that we have when we wake up from a restful sleep, that's what it really can be understood as, in terms of really what happens while we sleep, right? The revitalization process as we sleep. It really can be understood as a breaking of hexes, right? An ending of a lot of hexes in a lot of cases. So we should definitely take that time to learn how we can really take care of ourselves and take care of our pain, and treat that as another item on the check mark list for, whatever days we are, if we're really busy in any case. But also this idea of what marijuana represents, what it is. It has this thing to where, you think about, or not marijuana, I'm sorry, cannabis. You have this understanding of cannabis as a as of course a more psychoactive drug. But it has a rich history in terms of its ability to be used in, medicine, of course, right? But also just as a material, right? I believe they have bridges that were made of hemp, and somewhere in, I want to say Europe, I want to say Rome specifically, but I'm not sure about that. But there's also a use for it in terms of it to actually cleanse and, basically detoxify the earth in a lot of cases, revitalize the soil in a lot of cases. There's, of course, there's also a use for it to be actually used in, a lot of materials that we use every day, soap, also in basically oil or fuel for the car and things, or fuel for a car. I think we'll have to do something to the engines or something like that. But paper, it is an entire industry. It could be, and it could lead to an entire industry if we really chose to switch gears and we really acted like we really truly do have respect for, the actual earth itself in a lot of cases, rather than a lot of what goes on. But all of this industry hidden behind the aspect of it being known as and having a reputation as a psychoactive plant. What that really tells me is that maybe there's an aspect to you that is really parallel or corresponding to that analogy. So the idea of this plant being known and being identified, and really we project this image onto this plant and this idea of cannabis being a psychoactive plant rather than this true engine of just just a complete industry that's in the that we leave in the shadows in our projection. And if you do find yourself falling prey to projected images, what is projected onto you, you should understand that particularly in partnership, you need to establish relationships that truly understand and see you for your true potential. Okay, when it comes down to what you're able to do, what you're able to accomplish, it could very much be dependent on how you're seen and viewed by a lot of people when it comes down to the potentials, or the people, when I say the people that you choose to keep in your inner circle, right? So this idea of, for instance, let's say you're in a group of friends, we've all heard, not we've all, but a lot of people have used the analogy of, hey, if you hang around 5 dummies, then you'll be the 6th. You need to take that very seriously, and especially in one-on-one relationships, when we talk about the Libra archetype in general. So understand that and take that very much seriously when someone sees you as one thing, and you know that there's a tremendous shadow lurking in the background that this person is consciously ignoring and consciously choosing to project a one-dimensional understanding of you as a person. Try to build that relationship and really understand if this person is more so choosing to be around you because they able to project an image and feel basically that's something that they really like to do, rather than see you for who they know you actually view, how you view yourself and how you really are. Honestly, you need to have that understanding of and try to build that understanding with other people. And this other thing is I guess a note, this idea of Saturn and Neptune. Saturn, and that's the particular rulerships for this particular card. This idea of Saturn, it represents a spectrum of things, but we're going to focus on the idea of it rolling over 3D concrete reality, right? More so kind of the societal operational, pattern or intelligence that it operates on or whatever, right? So this idea of transcending that, it requires us to respect and truly understand what's there in the first place, right? There's a lot of people who want to skip Saturn, and that makes sense. I mean, nobody wants to spend the time Saturn on trying to really come to a true understanding of what exists in the 3D, but that grounds us in a way to transcend the 3D, right? When we talk about this element of the Renaissance in general, right, is a concept that I'd really like to more so dig into, whether people use the name or not. I call the concept energeticism, right? And that idea is that we have a deep understanding. So in the Italian Renaissance in general, they had this idea called humanism come up, where Leonardo da Vinci was essentially mapping out the human body, the veins, the nerves, stuff like that, and he did a lot of work on actually bringing that to light in terms of how really we need to focus on the biological aspect of our bodies in terms of actually achieving, I forget his particular goals, but just achieving health in general. I know it was used for that, but this idea of energeticism is us understanding and fully coming into an understanding of humanism, the concrete Saturn that we talked about, right? In terms of the 3D operational stuff, right? So when we talk about like technology, biology, medicine, stuff like that, but in the framework of understanding how all of these things could be, or very much are impacted by the world of the unseen, right? The energetic environment, and having a true understanding of the energetic environment that creates a lot of what we look at today and what we experience today. So it's very much something that I want people to take seriously and really just look at more. But in terms of this particular card, definitely look, you know, don't that image of yourself that you have versus what is that versus how others around you see you, and understand what you need to do to correct that, and maybe get a more accurate description to really everybody else, because it definitely could make a pretty big difference. Like I said, especially with one-on-one relationships. And I mean, if you're in the throes of any type of addiction, was it Gemini? There was a reading there with Gemini, 12th house calluses. You can look at that one. That is from last week. And if anything, I hope the best, and have a good week, and I'll see you next week.